Hey everybody, and welcome to the Chit Chat. I'm Adam Roach, and today I'm going to be doing a quick review over Photosynthesis. So this is a new family-style game from Blue Orange. So these are the same designers that have brought you games like New York 1901 in the past. Or the same producers, that is. So the designer of this game is Hjalmar Hach, and the artist in this game, who gets a lot of credit from me, is going to be Sabrina Miramon. This game is supposed to take around 45 to 60 minutes, and I would describe it as kind of an action point management and area control style game. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this review, and I'll let you know what I think about Photosynthesis. First of all, we're going to look into the components of the game, which at first glance, I think that's going to be what most people notice. The components of this game are absolutely beautiful. There are tons of little trees, and they stand out as they're placed on the board. They're utilized for shadows, and the height of the tree, of which there are varying heights on each of the species of tree, do affect the game. So, bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and pan the camera down, so next time you see this, you'll mostly see my hands. I want to be able to move around and show you the components in a little bit of a better field. Alright, so now that we've got the camera angle changed a little bit, here we'll go ahead and really dive into the components. So as you see in front of me right now, we have 3 of the blue trees. And there are 4 different colors in this game. There's blue, there is an orange color, and there is a green and a yellow color in the game. What I really love about this, and what I think is the strongest point of the game, is that all of these are different. So I don't know how much you can tell this in the video, but these are a drastically different shape of the tree, and the other colors also have their own unique shape and their own unique flavor. In addition, in many cases, there are things like little cats in the trees, small birds, etc. as you go. So there's a green tree. They're going to be a little bit more on the same line as the oranges here, but they do have a little bit of a different shape. And then we have the yellow tree here, which is its own distinct shape. So these, I think, are absolutely great. Now, I do have some minor complaints about the components here. So they do slide together, and inherently, these pieces do not always want to stay together. Especially the more you've played the game, the more you're going to get quite a bit of wobble and fold in your cardboard pieces. So they could have been thicker, but they're not bad. All right, so we'll move away from the trees, and I will show you these player boards. The art is, again, done very well with these player boards here. So you have your action selection area, which will be right over here. This is basically going to give you action points that you're going to spin throughout the game. And then the entire top portion of the board is focused on different things that you can purchase. So you can purchase additional acorns, so additional seeds for your people or your trees. And then the trees themselves will be set up on this portion of the board right over here. So there will be large trees at this end, medium trees, and then small trees. And you'll be able to purchase those off your board. The other thing are, at the bottom of this board, these are your main actions. So this is growing your tree, and this is spreading your seed down here. For a component review, that's not really important. Just keep in mind that those things will impact your game. The player boards are nice and a decent quality. I will show you one last thing. This is just a player board kind of all set up here. This is gonna be what it looks like in front of you on the table. Now, we'll dive into the board. And so here comes another complaint that I have. So the board itself is relatively pretty. It designates different types of soil. So the more fertile the soil, the closer it is to the center. The more arid the soil, or the worse the soil is, the more outside to the board it is. That's fine. It's marked, it's demarcated fairly well. The thing I don't really like about this board is this. So this is not a banana. It is the sun, and it shows directions that the sun shine. So as you go along this, you just see arrows facing down. And this is really probably the biggest problem of the game. So you toss it to the side here. It just fits on the side of your board. but it's pretty hard to get there. And then you have to physically pick it up and move it to another side or another piece of your board. It takes some time, it's a little frustrating, and I know a lot of people don't enjoy that. All right, last thing, you have some point chips here. These are if you grow your tree all the way to the highest level, so the 3rd level. And you get points based on what type of soil it's in. So there are, of course, these discs for each of the different types of soil. So this is the most fertile soil, and then it goes inward to the 2s and the 3s, and they're worth less points. Also, it's a stack of tokens that are worth less points as you go. Okay, so that's the components. We're gonna pan back up and I'll talk a little bit. All right, so now that I've kind of covered the general components of the game, let me just give you some overall thoughts. They're absolutely beautiful. That is the standout feature of the game. I've said that already. I'm gonna go ahead and say it again. They are not that heavy, so they're gonna take some wear and tear, and it comes off a little cheaper than other Blue-Orange games. And I will also say that throughout Blue-Orange's history, they have basically been an overproducer of boxes. And that is not the case this time. So in New York 1901, they had a great vacuumed plastic insert. They had already pre-punched all of your pieces, and the pieces themselves were of a high quality. In this one, you punch it yourself. Now, we do that in a lot of games, and so no big deal. But the box, the insert, are these things. And this is, in my opinion, unacceptable. This is a tiny piece of paper type cardboard. It does virtually nothing to hold the board in place. It does virtually nothing to protect your little trees. And for a game that I'm paying what I think is a premium for, about a $50 game here, the insert just doesn't cut it. But that's it for components. In general, pretty, but a little bit of a lower quality in overall. Now, the box itself is also very large, so if you care about space issues, that might be a factor as well. So let's go ahead and talk about weight. And when I say weight, I'm going to talk about length and difficulty of the game, and we'll discuss the rulebook a little bit. So I've seen people say this plays as quickly as 15 minutes. If you've played it a bunch, if you're playing the basic game, it's doable. But at that point, you're losing almost all of the strategy of the game because you're just making a decision to make a decision. You're doing it lightning fast. Now, that being said, this game is not that difficult, especially when playing in the base scenario, and it is relatively easy to learn from a rules perspective. So the rulebook itself is literally just the one page. So you have, well, I guess I should say 2 pages. So it is the entry first flap here and the second flap. So it's pretty simple to get through and read. In addition, the things on your player board I think are relatively self-explanatory. After you've played it once, you're going to pick it up really quickly again. And in general, I haven't had that much of a struggle with people learning. The hardest thing for people to learn are typically the way the shadows affect the game. So in the base game, the only thing shadows affect, and this is as light shines across the board, trees cast shadows. Trees in shadow do not receive light and therefore do not add to your action pool. So in the base game, that's something you can kind of look at the first of every turn. The group can help you. It doesn't affect your decisions that round, and most people get by there. If you play the advanced game, in which shadows affect all manner of things, such as your ability to grow trees, your ability to plant trees, and your ability to spread seeds, that's where I've seen this game get really, really slow in AP. But overall, while the rules are easy, the general play is easy. I do want to stress that shadows are often something that has thrown people off, and therefore I almost can't give this a recommendation for a easy to learn family game. I have taught it to, I think, 12 different groups now, and I will say 9 of them had real trouble with the shadows. Now, 5 of those were taught with the advanced rules, and so there was more involved in the first place. But these are gamers. These are people who play 2 to 3 hour games in many situations and decided they wanted to go for an advanced version initially. So my warning there is shadows. I know that's difficult. So the next thing, we'll go ahead and talk about strategy here. I actually think strategy here is pretty interesting, especially in the advanced version of the game, but in both versions. The trade-off between planting in fertile soil and having easy access to light and shadow is a really interesting mechanism. In the base game, I would say it is a little more casual, meaning you can do a lot of things and you're never going to feel as if you're truly locked out. So that in that realm, it does do well for families, because you never want to be sitting down with people who don't play games and in a situation in which you truly lock them out of their actions or their ability to do things. So in that way, it moves quickly, it moves well, with everybody always feeling they have something to do. So strategy for me in the base game is okay and good for a family game. In the advanced game, I actually think strategy is really interesting. There's a lot of abstract feel to it. There's a lot of crunchy, real decisions I think you can make on how will this affect my next 3 turns? How will this let me plan for the 3 after that? And that is a really good strength here. So I think long term, if you do get into this game, it will apply well to a more casual group. And also for those of you who have played multiple times, it will apply well for a more deeper, more strategic game there. That being said, I'm not necessarily looking for that out of this game, and so it may over-deliver on that standpoint. It could be an easier family game, and I think I would like it better. Okay, so now I've given you some brief thoughts on components, on strategy, on ease to learn, and I'm gonna say overall, this was one of the ones that I came out really excited for out of Gen Con. It's one that I thought was really going to stick around forever and that you were going to hear about 2 or 3 years from now. But now that I've had it in my hands, now that I've played it several times, now that I've taught it several times, I think it's a good game, but I don't think it's a great game. It's something that if you love the theme, if you think it looks great, you can pick up and have a good time with it, especially if you're really comfortable in learning rules or have access to a good how to play video. And we hope to supply one of those as well. This is a popular game right now, and I want to help out as much as possible. But for me, it's good, not great. And that's where I'm going to leave this one. So if you enjoyed the review, let me know. Give it a like or subscribe to the channel or both. And if there's anything you'd like to see us review or do a how to play video on, leave that in the comments. Thanks, and have a great day.